Welcome back to another episode of Discog Discourse. On this episode, we're going to be talking about My Chemical Romance.
When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. He said, son, when you grow up, would you be the savior of the broken?
So if you've never listened to the program, this is a show where we pick a band, listen through every single one of their albums, and then come back to rank and review them. My name is Nathan, and with me I have my two co-hosts, Kyle and Jeff. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? How are we doing? How are we feeling?
Oh, just wonderful.
Feeling good, like how you referred to it as the program.
Very professional.
An old soul, old-timey, hey, we're on the radio. This is modern radio feel.
I was going to say, when we transition to an actual radio show, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to fit.
And we have one of those like soundboards and we become like radio jockeys.
Like with air horns.
That'd be really good. We have a daily show, only local though.
What area?
Denver, of course.
Yeah, Denver.
Dude, hey, speaking of Denver, I walked outside today, like 2 hours ago, snowing hard. Like, I was shocked.
Wow.
That's weird. It's 75 and it's 9 o'clock at night where I am.
Yeah, where I'm at, I don't expect to see snow this year.
Yeah.
I mean, like, literally, I was like taken aback because I've been outside earlier that day it was like 45 degrees today. And I walk outside tonight and there's a blanket of white. It's bizarre.
That's crazy. Yeah, we're supposed to get a thunderstorm tomorrow, so that's fun. All right, so before we go any further, I do want to plug the social media. If you want to join the discourse, you can follow us on Twitter at Discog_pod. You can follow us on TikTok at Discog Discourse or Instagram at Discog.Discourse. It's really annoying that we have 3 different names for those 3 social medias, but that's, I guess, the price we pay. If you could be so kind as to leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on, that would help us out a bunch. The algorithm eats that up. And, we mentioned Twitter a second ago. We have a couple tweets from the last episode that we want to shout out. If you want your tweet read on the show, just quote tweet our rankings when we put those out, and we'll pick a couple to go over at the start of each episode, like this one from Rose is Riding on the Techno Train at Worst Omens. They say, yo, why predators become the prey so low? The best Ink album. No taste. Now, no taste is a bit of a hefty accusation. Jeff, how do you feel about that? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, to say no taste, I think it takes away from our rankings. I believe that we have taste personally. Now, our taste might not be the same, but I do believe that we have taste. But, about Predators Become the Prey, it's a great album, don't get me wrong. And that's the problem with ranking Ice Nine Kill albums is that, you're going to have to put a good one at the bottom. And that to me was, it's a good album, but I do think that they have better ideas, better instrumentation, more unique songs later on in their discography.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with you more, Jeff. I do think we have no taste, which is exactly why we're doing this show, is to talk about our knowledge, but our taste is awful. There's a reason why we get so many comments like this that say no taste.
Yeah, so much of our interaction is like, you guys are wrong. So I feel like, maybe there is something there. Maybe he's right.
Absolutely. But hey, Spencer Charnas tweeted at us, and he put Predators Become the Prey pretty high. Yeah, you know what else he put pretty high, boys? He put The Burning at number 5, just like me. I feel vindicated. We don't have to talk about this anymore. I feel vindicated.
I'm happy for you, buddy. We have another tweet here from Bryce Hammond at Aeromac. They say, cool podcast, and I'm excited to hear more episodes. My ranking is Horrorwood, Safe as Just a Shadow, Silver Scream, Every Trick in the Book, Predator Becomes the Prey, and then The Burning. First off, thank you. More episodes to come, obviously. What I find interesting about this list is the Silver Scream albums are split up. I feel like usually you see those two together, wherever they're at in the list. But Safe is Just a Shadow sits right in between them, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I would want to hear the justification as to why they think Safe is Just a Shadow is better than the Silver Scream, but not as good as Horrorwood. Like, what distinctions are they making between them that would indicate that distinction? I don't know.
And I mean, like, they have the list right in terms of Horrorwood than the Silver Scream, but like, what's the major difference that Safe is Just a Shadow sits right in between them?
Well, they also have Every Trick at number 4, Nathan, which I'm sure
Which
you're
is
very happy about.
A good call, I'd say.
Shut up.
Okay, we have one more here from Brad at Hard's Myth. He says, impossible to rank them when they're all tied for number 1, but this is the best I could do. His list goes Every Trick in the Book, Safe is Just a Shadow, again at the 2 spot there, The Silver Scream 2, Predator Becomes the Prey, and then The Burning. So that's kind of what I mean with like the Silver Screams bunched up like that. But Safe is Just a Shadow at 2 on 2 of these lists. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I like the humility in this one. But this is the best I could do. Just like being like warding off the masses, being like, "Hey, listen, this is all I can do." I
Yeah.
appreciate that, and hey, that's kind of what we do.
I feel like we're not quite that humble about it.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think we make it clear enough that this is just our opinion.
Yeah, but that's part of the fun of it. Of course, it's just our opinion, and we're just 3 dudes that happen to start talking about this music and recording it.
Yeah. What else would we have to make clear, Jeff? Like how do we tell someone any more clear that this is our opinion when we are talking from a subjective standpoint on a subjective podcast?
Maybe I think that this is objective fact. My list. It's the only correct list.
Well, Jeff, you are in luck tonight because you are leading the conversation as we talk about My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
I like that you're leading this discussion because I know for a fact that Kyle and I have listened to quite a bit of My Chemical Romance, but you have not. And I want to know, how did you get into this genre of music in so deep that you're doing a podcast about it, but have never listened to My Chemical Romance in depth? How did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. The only real My Chemical Romance song that I ever listened to was Welcome to the Black Parade like 10 years ago. When one of my friends showed it to me, and I listened to it once, and then I never listened to it again because I didn't really like it that much back then.
Wow.
Back then.
Whoa.
Back then.
You casual.
Back then. So, but yeah, I mean, I've always thought kind of that My Chemical Romance was outside the purview of what I thought, kind of what is my genre of like metal. And so I'm happy to say that I was mistaken. But I'll get more into that later.
I love to hear that.
Absolutely.
And the way this listing is going to work is Jeff is going to go through his rankings. He'll lead the discussion. And as he reveals where his albums are, Kyle and I will also reveal where they are in our list, so we can have a more cohesive conversation all at once, all together. We'll be talking about My Chemical Romance's 4 full-length albums, obviously, but we've also included their collection of singles that they put out that were the scrapped album Conventional Weapons. So, Jeff, there is no more housekeeping. Would you take it away, please?
All right. Well, at my number 5 spot, my least favorite My Chemical Romance album is their 2012-2013 collection of EPs, Conventional Weapons.
I have that at my number 4, and it looks like Kyle does too. So
yeah,
Jeff.
I do as well.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised to see that, to be honest, because coming into this, I thought wholeheartedly that we would all have the same list.
That's always how it goes.
This was our best chance too, because
know.
the next bands that we're going to be doing are, the 5, 6, 7, 8 album discographies.
Not 4 albums and a selection of EPs.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You blew it. You blew it, Jeff.
Luckily, Nathan and I will have completely similar, identical lists.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
We'll see about that.
So let me justify this real quick.
Please.
I really like this album, quote unquote.
Oh God, here we
Oh
go.
boy, that's my thing. That's my
do.
thing. You can't do that.
I do though. These here, I'll say it quickly. There are good songs on here. I just think that all their other albums have more unique ideas, more catchy hooks, don't sound as generic to me as this project. There are just some songs on here that I'm not a huge fan of. The ending of this album is kind of weaker than the beginning. So much so that like Surrender the Night, Burn Bright, I couldn't even tell you what they sound like if I wanted to. And then the song Gun in particular, that song is so weird because the parts where he says, "As soon as I get my gun," over and over, I don't like that part at all. Okay. But the parts where he says, if I'm old enough to die for your mistakes, blah, blah, blah. I love that part. It's such a weird song. I like half of it and I don't like the other half of it. And so I don't know how to rate that. I will say though that Boy Division is a great intro. I really do like that song. It's full of energy, full of fun. And I really like the We Got the Bomb ending thing going on there. But all in all, yeah, to put it bluntly, I would just say I think this is not their greatest work. I think that they have more unique and interesting songs elsewhere. And if I were to make a list of my top 25 My Chemical Romance songs, I don't know if a song from this project would be on there. So what do you guys think?
I agree with you about Boy Division. That song comes out like a heater. Great song, real fun. I really like Tomorrow's Money as well. Kind of that 1-2 punch of that EP is really, really, really good. Yeah, it falls off with Ambulance. Gun, Jeff, I agree. I like some parts. I dislike others. But the thing that stuck out to me most about this record is, or I guess this collection of EPs, is how similar it sounds to other artists that influenced them or other artists at the time. Like Kiss the Ring sounds like something straight out of a Closure to Moscow album. Like their previous 3 sounds very, very, very Kiss the Ring. The Light Behind Your Eyes sounds like a Green Day acoustic song, which I guess isn't really unique since those were kind of the thing. But like Make Room, that is a Jack White song. It sounds exactly like Jack White. And you can hear the Strokes in there. You can hear a lot of their punk influences from earlier. I said puck. I meant to say punk influences from earlier in their when they just started with their first album, which I really enjoyed. I enjoyed hearing those different influences and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, Burn Bright, I do not like that song at all. I really don't like The Light Behind Your Eyes. I think The World Is Ugly is lame, and I don't like Ambulance. And so like there are just too many songs I don't like. I'm not going to necessarily hold the poor production against them since this was a scrapped album, but it just makes it a little less enjoyable to listen to.
Dude, I love that you mentioned Jack White because I actually caught that as well. I wrote down a lot of the more energetic songs on here would be right at home on a playlist alongside bands like Jack White, Arctic Monkeys, and other kind of alt punk bands like that. And I really enjoy that kind of fuzzy, raw sound. But overall, I can kind of see why they scrapped this album. And it's tough to say. I found it difficult to rank this album because I feel like if a couple of these songs had a little more time in the oven, they could have been like really good. If they just had a little bit more care poured into them. But I mean, like, it's a scrapped album. So of course they're not fully fleshed out. I really like all of the energetic songs on here. We've already mentioned Boy Division, Tomorrow's Money. I love Kiss the Ring, and I really enjoy Make Room. All of those are super fun. It's a much more stripped back version of MCR, especially following something like The Black Parade. But honestly, I kind of dig that sound. But ultimately, like I said, I can see why they went elsewhere. And there are elements in some of these songs that wound up on the album that they scrapped this for. The second half of Make Room actually is the second half of Na 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 from Danger Days, where it's like, everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to die. That lyric comes up again and again, and it found its way there from this early version of that song. Spoiler for later, I like Na 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 quite a bit, and so maybe that just proves the idea that if these songs were fully fleshed out, they are good. But because they're not, I think that does hold this album back a little bit.
That's funny that you say that about Na 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 because like I was thinking while listening to this discography, I was like, man, this everyone wants to change the world. Like, I feel like it comes up a lot more
Yeah.
than in just one song.
Yeah.
And that's because I've been listening to a double. So heck yeah.
You'd heard it twice. Yeah. I think overall it's just kind of a forgettable project.
Mhm. That was my biggest takeaway from the project. I felt like they did a lot of these songs better elsewhere. And if I want a song like that, I could go get it. Like, especially like The Light Behind Your Eyes. Like, if I want a slower acoustic My Chemical Romance song, they do that better on other albums.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think, this album, for a lot of the songs, my notes are just like, the song just kind of happens. There's no moment. I feel like My Chemical Romance, especially their earlier stuff, there's always that moment in the song where that helps you to remember it. These songs don't really have that moment, unfortunately. So I do agree. I think they're kind of just generic.
Yeah. I will give credit to My Chemical Romance's songwriters, though. I mean, their B-sides are better than some bands' fully fleshed out songs.
Oh, absolutely.
Their B-sides are better than one of their full-length albums.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I agree.
Which one?
Nathan, I'm really interested to see what you have.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't think we're going to be on the same page. I just have that gut feeling.
All right.
We'll see, though. We'll see. I feel like we really just blew through that album. Does anyone else have other thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's got to be more to say about this.
There's got to be more to
But
say.
I think it's already been said. Jeff, like you said, it just kind of happens. Like, it's just kind of there. There's nothing outside of the first two tracks that, like, you can really hold on to. And that's kind of probably why they're B-sides. But I feel like we talked about it.
I definitely hold on to Kiss the Ring and Make Room. Those songs have cool guitar riffs. They've got good energy. It's like fuzzy. It's fun. It's a little dirty, dirty garage rock.
Yeah.
I like it. I like those two songs.
And like
specifically.
The World is Ugly, like that, they have that robotic voice behind the singing, which I thought was pretty cool. It's unique. I don't think I've ever heard that before, at least from the small amount of the music world that I've listened to. It's kind of a cool idea. So I like that. And then, I mean, as much as I didn't like Gun, I do think like the repetition is also kind of, it's interesting. At least I do think it gets kind of old, but it's not terrible. This album isn't terrible. Don't get me wrong. It just kind of happens. So
it's kind of there.
Yeah.
It was a scrapped album. It was a collection of B-sides. I'm not expecting the world.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I was expecting the never mind.
Okay.
I'm really getting ahead of myself because I'm so interested to see what Nathan has in his last spot.
All right. Let's move on.
All right. Let's move on. So my number 4 My Chemical Romance album is Danger Days: The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys.
I knew it.
Gosh dang it, man.
I have that at my number 3.
I have that at my number 5.
Wow.
Oh, come on.
And now there's no chance that we will ever have the same list.
Wow.
I mean, are you serious? Nathan, you're the guy who hates synth. And the amount of synth in this album is unbelievable.
And you hate interludes. There's like 3 interludes on here.
The interludes on here are like 30 seconds.
You still hate them?
Put up with 30. I do hate them.
Wait, not true, Nathan. Goodnight, Dr. Death is that dumb radio jockey, and then they do the national anthem. That was like 2 minutes.
That's true.
We are the radio jockeys.
Yeah, maybe I hated the radio jockey on this album so much because I saw him as our competition.
Oh, some lore.
That makes
Every
sense.
time he opened his mouth, I was like, "This freaking guy." And then
I will say when he says louder than God's revolver and twice as shiny, I'm like, that's kind of a cool line.
I do like that part. So about this project, real quick, and then I want to hear your guys' thoughts because Kyle, you have it at number 5, Nathan at number 3. So I need to hear the difference. I want to hear some arguing, some real debate. But so this project to me has good songs and it has songs that I don't like all that much. And so the reason why I put it above Conventional Weapons is because Conventional Weapons really doesn't have many songs that I like really love. This album has some songs that I really, really love, especially the ending. I think this album is way stronger at the end than it is at the beginning, in my opinion, at least. I love Scarecrow, Summertime, Destroya. That's like a 3-song stretch that I think is really, really strong.
Wait. You love Scarecrow?
I love that song.
I also love Scarecrow.
Yeah, that song's really
Scarecrow
good.
is a great song.
Yep.
This was the one thing I had confidence in, that we were all going to make fun of the way he sang the freaking chorus in that song.
Really?
Oh, jeez.
I like how he sings the high pitched chorus in that song.
No, he sounds like a freaking goofball.
No, he
No,
doesn't.
it's great.
It works.
Oh, dude, I literally, in all caps, bolded, is just like, why is he singing like this? Why is it losing all momentum that the verse kind of builds and the bridge kind of builds?
Oh, I think the chorus is fantastic in that song.
Oh, falls flat on his face. I feel like you guys are I feel like I'm being led on right now.
You're being
but
duped?
Maybe you guys are
Nope.
duped.
Oh, I'm being dead serious. I think it's really good.
I also do.
That is crazy. That is insane to me. That song's a 3 out of 10.
No, sir, it is not. I assure you, you are mistaken.
I mean, like literally, that is probably my least favorite song in this discography, and I'm not joking.
Oh man,
Really?
Like, yeah, not even close.
what a just classic Kyle terrible take moment.
Yeah, that's crazy. This album has some not great songs on it. Scarecrow's not one of them.
I agree.
Oh my gosh.
Like Sing is maybe a song I could understand if you put it
Yeah, no, I
that
did.
low. I don't really like that song that much. That song's too repetitive. It's okay. The one thing that My Chemical Romance does really well is make catchy choruses. So like even the songs that I don't love still get stuck in my head. Like Sing, the song got stuck in my head
Yep.
instantly.
They actually have that exact same note. Like there are a handful of songs on here where the whole song doesn't really click, but the chorus absolutely does.
Hmm.
I don't know if Sing is one of those songs. I don't really love that song in general, but Bulletproof Heart is absolutely one of those songs. And The Only Hope for Me Is You has a great chorus, even if I
Oh,
don't love the
yeah.
rest of the song.
I like Sing more than Scarecrow, even though I don't like Sing that much.
That's wild.
I really like. Now, I will say I really like Planetary Go.
That song's all right.
I think it's okay.
So groovy, bro. It's so funky. I really like. It's so different. I really enjoy it, even though I don't like the alien synth that's in that song. I think it's a really fun, nice boppy, upbeat song.
It's definitely boppy and fun. I don't know if I love My Chemical Romance when they're doing like boppy fun like that, to be honest. Spoiler for later. I like it more when they have more of a darker tone to their songs. But yeah, I do agree. That's actually what I have. Song is very bouncy as my note for that one. And it is. But I think there's like weird layering on that song, if I remember correctly. Like the vocals are kind of different and weird. So it's not my favorite. But Summertime is a top 10 My Chemical Romance song for me. That song, you know what it kind of reminds me of?
What?
Kind of reminds me of that 4 Year Strong song that also refers to the summer.
All of them?
Was it Wasted Time?
Wasting time.
I did not make that connection personally.
I did.
Yeah, I hard disagree.
My brain made that connection.
I think it's just because time is in the name of the song.
No, it's more like the feeling that the song generates.
I mean, hard disagree. Unfair. Yeah.
I don't think they're on like the same strata of song, but I do think that they
Yeah.
both create like a similar vibe.
Yeah, I understand why people like this. I just kind of saw it as like kind of generic 2010 rocks, or I guess too many songs were generic 2010s rock, which is fine. But my particular taste kind of leans obviously towards scene music, and so a lot of this stuff just didn't hit for me. Especially like I think a lot of the songs were really long, like 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Where the last minute and a half was like repeating the chorus, then going down into like this deep like instrumental groove, back into the chorus again. Back into the chorus. It just felt a little repetitive to me. And I feel like that was a problem on some of their previous albums, but it was really magnified here in my mind.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page that this is a very different version of My Chemical Romance. Like, they clearly were not trying to make the Black Parade 2. I kind of respect that move because I think anything they would have done would have been probably disappointing in some way. So just separate yourself entirely from that maybe and just go for something upbeat and energetic and fun. And like That's what this album is. They weren't trying to do the same thing. They were trying to switch it up. And I think it works on more songs than it doesn't.
Hmm.
I will be the first one to admit that I was a huge Danger Days hater before we started digesting like this discography for this episode. I was like, this is their worst project. It's so bad. There are only 2 good songs, blah, 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 blah. But the more I listened to it, the more I really found songs that I enjoyed and even found moments in songs that maybe I don't love that I enjoyed. Like I said earlier with the chorus of Bulletproof Heart. I think this album is bookended by 2 great songs. I mean, if you ignore the little Look Alive Sunshine intro. Na 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 is super fun, super energetic. It's absolute nonsense. And then Vampire Money, for me, is a top 10 My Chemical Romance song. I just love how energetic it is, and it's just so much fun.
I
Some song. Oh, were you about to disagree with me?
Yeah.
I disagree.
The thing about Vampire Money is that I cannot take it seriously if the first line is 3, 2, 1, we came to blank. 3, 2, 1, we came to like. Are you serious? Like it is so so cringe. I cannot get through that song with that line sitting there.
I will say, Nathan, I think that like that song is like really fun surfer garage rock.
Yeah.
And so that like that's why I could see myself listening to it. That being said, I more so lean towards Jeff and the 3, 2, 1, we came to blank, and just kind of the couldn't really shake that.
Yeah.
And how many times that's repeated.
The clean version of the song is better because it's 3, 2, 1, we came to suck, which makes so much more sense for Vampire Money.
Oh, that does make more sense actually. Yeah.
So I think they totally botched that. But regardless, I think it's a super fun song. Like I love the piano throughout it. It's just it's just fun.
What did you guys think of the national anthem?
That was so random.
I actually thought it was kind of funny.
I kind of saluted on the bus when I listened to it every time.
Did you stand up?
I did. I removed my hat, put it over my heart, saluted, and stared straight ahead.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
This album definitely has character. You have to give it that much.
That is undeniable. There's a 3-song stretch on here that is really good. And Jeff, it overlapped with yours, but it isn't quite the same. I think Party Poison, Save Yourself, I'll Hold Them Back, and Scarecrow is a crazy good 3-song stretch. All of those songs are great.
I feel like I cannot believe that's coming out of your mouth right now.
It's true, man. I like Party Poison is just energetic and fun. Save Yourself is one of the strongest choruses on this album. And then Scarecrow is easily, like, in my opinion, the best slower song on here. And it kind of has a very, like, it's like a modern take on a vintage rock sound. And I think it works so well.
I agree with Save Yourself. That song is awesome.
Me too.
Amazing.
Yeah, Party Poison, I don't know. It just sounds
It's
like
fine, but like
generic high energy. Like what I wrote down was that it sounds fun to put in the background while I'm doing something else, but there's nothing sucking me into actually listening to the song. Like it just kind of falls into noise for me.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think like this album is much more standard pop rock.
Mhm.
And as such, it kind of loses some of the personality that, other better My Chemical Romance albums have.
Yeah.
No, this album does have personality. We mentioned that earlier. Maybe it's just that I don't like this personality as much. It kind of feels, zany, maybe a little goofy, quirky, it's just kind of out there and embraces its weirdness.
it's not as gritty.
It's certainly not.
I feel like that's kind of a mainstay of My Chemical Romance heyday music is a lot of that stuff is gritty, and intense, fast paced.
You know what this is like? The first 3 My Chemical Romance albums are like DC movies, and then the Marvel movies got popular, right? And so Danger Days is like DC looking at those like goofy, zany Marvel movies and being like, we need to do that to have a huge album again. And then it doesn't work as well. Not that the gritty DC movies are that good.
That's fair, I think. I just don't know what I don't know honestly what was their motivation to write this album like this.
I think it was to do something completely different than the Black Parade.
Oh, okay.
And I think in that sense they very much succeed.
Yeah, and I think one thing is that this album is missing that like emotional punch that their previous albums held, which sort of going back to what Kyle said about it being gritty. that emotional weight behind the songs, I just don't feel like is here. I think My Chemical Romance is at their best when that emotion is coming through.
I completely agree. I think that's all we have for this album. But before we move on, we got story time.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Because all of My Chemical Romance albums tell a story.
oh,
And this one is no different. So basically, the lore behind this album, if you will, is the titular Killjoys are a group of rebels fighting back against a world power that is selling people pills to give them different emotions. And the Killjoys are seemingly the only people in the world not brainwashed by the company that is selling all these emotion pills. And they're trying to free the people from under the corporation by convincing the world that emotions come from the heart, not the pills. That is so corny to me. And I think it fits in pretty well with the overall personality and attitude of the album. But in my opinion, if I were to rank the stories they tell, this would be at the bottom.
Yeah, I kind of gathered the corniness of the story listening throughout, and also like just their use of the word like everybody, where they're like, everybody's gotta do it. Everybody's gonna change the world. Everybody, like they say it in so many of the songs. It's just like, God, what? Like, this story sucks.
no, Nathan, that definitely makes sense. This album comes off extremely rebellious in a lot of ways. Every single song feels very rebellious to me. And in the context of that story, it does make a lot more sense that they would go for something like that.
Weird video game dystopia, heavily influenced by comic books, which is not surprising given Gerard Way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was gonna go to college for something with comic books, right?
I have no clue. Was he?
I don't know. I thought I read that somewhere, but decided to drop out from music. So that definitely makes sense.
Well, he was working at Cartoon Network.
Or maybe he got his degree.
Yeah, he was working as a cartoonist at Cartoon Network in 2001.
Okay.
When the events that led to the band forming occurred.
Right.
Wow. And he was like, I'm going to follow my passions.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Respect it.
I wish I could do that.
Kyle, we are doing that.
This is
Yeah.
Kyle, we're just like My Chemical Romance. We're doing that. We're gonna be radio jockeys.
Me and Gerard Way, we're not so different after all. He has generational talent, and I judge that talent.
We're the same. We'd be buddies.
I judge that talent based off of no merit whatsoever.
I just happen to have a mic and a computer.
awesome. Okay. Cool. Now let's get into the good stuff. Let's get into the goodies. My number 3, My Chemical Romance. Sorry. My number 3, My Chemical What's going on?
What's so funny, Jeff? Why are you laughing?
Wait. Okay. Wait, what? How do you get... Okay. My number 3, My Chemical Romance album is I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love.
So for some context for people that heard Jeff laughing but don't know why, we have a Google sheet and we put in our rankings as we go. And Kyle and I preemptively put in I Brought You My Bullets before Jeff even said anything.
Yeah.
And that's why he was laughing. He was a little thrown off there. It was the obvious choice, Jeff. It's not like you're gonna put one of the other two albums at your number 3.
I'm offended that you. Okay, no, that's actually fair. Yeah, no, that's
that
totally
I can
fair.
read you like that. That I have enough confidence in you.
That's so predictable.
Jeff, I just had faith in you to do the right thing.
That's fair. That's fair. Is it really the right thing though, Nathan, when you have it at your number 5?
Yeah, that's a good question, Nathan.
Look, I'm just glad it's not my y'all's number 1 or something.
Well, why is it your number 5? Let's start there.
Because I don't really like this album that much.
Ooh.
Lame answer.
Okay. When I say I like this album, but you get mad at me, and then when I have the gall to say I don't like this album, you say that's lame. Whatever.
How hard was it for you to say that just now? For you to be like, I don't really like this album.
You heard me fight through it.
Yeah, you braced for impact.
Yeah, I was like, oh gosh, I have to say it. I don't really like this album that much.
I don't love this album.
I think basically what it boils down to is this album functions as a blueprint for MCR's original sound, and they do it better on the next album in their discography. It's got the dramatic storylines, the strained guitar riffs, the dark progressions. I don't love Gerard's delivery on here, and that kills a lot of the songs for me. As big as this debut is, and as influential as it was, like you can hear the influence from this album in so many places throughout the scene. I just like, if I want this version of My Chemical Romance, this isn't the album I'm going to, outside of Headfirst for Halos, which is an amazing song.
Dude, that song, I heard that song for the first time and I was like, this is insane how good this song is.
That song is amazing.
Now, here's a take that the first time I heard it, I had. Do you think it kind of sounds like The Strokes? Because The Strokes released their debut album a year before, and it was obviously a massive hit. And the unpleasant events that led to My Chemical Romance forming was after The Strokes' debut album. So you could think that maybe that was an influence on some of the sound.
It's certainly possible. It also could be like that was just the sound of rock at that time.
Yeah, it's true.
And so they were taking that and putting their own twist on it, making it dark, super dark.
Grungy.
But like the level of influence that this album had, like the guitar riff in Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us, has been replicated so many times throughout modern punk. And even like it sounds like a very metalcore riff at its core. I saw somewhere that around this time, My Chemical Romance actually toured with Avenged Sevenfold. And it makes so much sense because that guitar riff sounds vaguely similar to like something like Unholy Confessions. And like the sound that those two bands had at the time, that tour makes sense. And it's honestly crazy to see that those are like two of the biggest bands in two different genres, and they went into completely different directions over the last 20 years. But it didn't matter because they were both like the biggest names in rock and metal.
Yeah.
So that's a fun tidbit.
Nathan, why did My Chemical Romance form?
9/11.
Thanks.
We kept dancing around it with the unpleasant events. Like My Chemical Romance formed because Gerard saw the towers fall.
Well, and something I read or an interview I listened to was that like he was sketching comics and cartoons for Cartoon Network on the ferry on the Hudson River, and when the second plane hit.
Oh, really?
Or when the first plane hit. And so yeah, they then went into Brooklyn and they watched the whole day, just a crowd of people he watched with the eventual, collapse of the towers.
Wow.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. And the first song I think he wrote was Skylines and Turnstiles, which is on this album.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very emotional song.
Unfortunately, not one of my favorites, though. Just going to be honest.
I agree.
Yeah. I tried to justify it in my brain
Me too.
like as much as possible. I was like, I have to like this song. I have to be respectful to the victims that lost their lives. Couldn't do it.
Oh man. Yeah, it's like the song has so much meaning in terms of like what he's saying. It obviously means a lot to Gerard, but it sounds like the first song somebody's written.
Yeah. I don't think it's a terrible song. Just not one of my favorite. So
Yeah. I think Headfirst for Halos is easily like the big takeaway track from this for me.
I actually like Vampires Will Never Hurt You. It's my favorite song.
Oh, me too.
On this album.
Not my favorite song, but I like that song.
I like the second half of that song a lot, but I don't really love the first half.
That's fair. The part at the end where he says, "Can you stake my heart?" Like I'm probably
Yeah.
gonna go back and re-listen to that after we're done. That part is just so good, so
Yeah,
good.
I will say that song is like almost 6 minutes long, and he says, "Can you stake my heart?" for like 2 minutes, and it honestly doesn't really bother
I like
me
it.
that much.
I wish it was longer.
I like don't hate it, which is uncharacteristic.
Yeah. Nathan, to echo what you said, I do think that the vocal delivery on this album does leave a lot to be desired. It is my biggest gripe on this album, the production, and certainly I just don't think his singing just gets so much better as the albums go on, and it's so noticeable. Like my first time listening through this album, I was like, yeah, that's tough. But I grew to really like a lot of the songs. Like Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the two of us, I really, really like Headfirst or Halos. And even Early Sunsets over Monroeville. I really like that song. Sort of going back to what I said about they do slower songs better elsewhere. That's the better elsewhere I was talking about.
Uh-uh.
Are you serious?
Oh, I agree. I
Mm-mm.
agree with Jeff.
You don't like that song?
I don't like that song.
What?
I think, dude, it's so hard to do a slow song or it's so hard for me to like a slow song when I don't like the delivery of the vocals. Because that, like, generally is what carries a slower song. And I don't like Gerard's delivery on a lot of this album. That is, like, the thing that holds it back for me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a big Pixies fan, and that song, like listening to that song, just made me feel like I was listening to the Pixies. I really like that song. Well, I don't really like that song, but I enjoy it as a slow song.
Yeah, me too.
You really like it comparative to maybe the rest of the album.
Yeah, like Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough is an awesome song that if you asked me to choose one, I would shoot 800 Early Sunsets over Monroeville to have one Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough.
Oh, definitely. I think Our Lady of Sorrows is another highlight on here.
I thought that song was just okay. I think it kind of just happens. I don't know. I don't have that much down about it, which I guess just means it just sort of happened.
It's fast paced, and there's a part at the beginning where he like does this weird scream kind of thing, and that part sounds kind of cool.
Okay, I'll have to re-listen to it after this.
It's a very punky song.
It is, and I like that.
I mean, this whole record is a punk record. It's like a punk
absolutely.
grunge record. It's awesome in some ways, but production, delivery, some songwriting is not obviously as high as what we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
True. They leveled up in a big way after
Yeah.
this.
Oh my God, you're telling me. But like even songs like Drowning Lessons, like the song is a grunge punk song. Foo Fighters, NoFX, Nirvana, like you hear all that stuff in there. And I think that's really, really great and really cool. And like I was reading Gerard Way's influences when creating the band, and he put in Sex Pistols, he put out the Ramones and guys like that. And you could just kind of hear it throughout the album.
For sure. Big punk guy. So would you like to know the story
Oh yeah.
on this?
Please.
It's actually not really a full story this time around. Rather, each song is an individual story that details two individuals who are ultimately taken away from each other. I want to highlight Demolition Lovers because that'll be important later. Demolition Lovers is about a couple, and at the end of the song, they are killed in a gunfight. That is all I have for this album.
That is exhilarating.
Not a lot of in-depth on this one, but
Heck yeah.
I'm excited to hear what's coming up next.
as far as stories go, it's not as corny as Danger Days, so I give it the one up on there.
Hey,
Cool.
shall we?
Number two? Number two?
Number 2.
Dude, I have some core memories attached to both of these albums.
My number 2, My Chemical Romance album is in fact 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge.
No way.
Way.
Oh, what a cosmic blunder you have made, Kyle.
I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to put it at number 1.
Jeff, I thought you might do it too. I really did.
I was closer than I'd like to admit, probably, but I couldn't.
So Jeff and I have it at number 2. Kyle has 3 Cheers as his numero uno favorite My Chemical Romance record.
Yep.
Kyle, you want to go ahead?
I'm sure not ashamed of it because it comes out with the best opener of My Chemical Romance in Helena. This song has been with me for years and years and years, and I'm still not sick of listening to it. Going into a song like Give 'Em Hell Kid, going into a song like To the End, you know what they do to guys like us in prison is a good song. I'm Not Okay is an okay song. I'm not. It's not my favorite. Actually, what are y'all's thoughts on that song, real fast?
I like
Top
it.
5 for me.
It's top 10 in mine.
Cool. Maybe it's just watered down for me. I graded it high because I've had it downloaded since I was like 12. Going into The Ghost of You, which obviously an amazing song. When I first listened to this song when I was like 13, I watched the music video, which is like I think this guy in the army, and I told my mom I wanted to go into the military because of that music video. Very embarrassing because I'm not cut out for the military. Thank You for the Venom is a fantastic song. I don't love Hang 'em High, and I don't love I Never Told You What I Do for a Living. But other than that,
Man, just daggers in my heart right there. I love Hang 'em High, and I
really,
Never Told You What I Do for a Living is a banger.
no, I mean, okay, I like what I Never Told You What I Do for a Living, but I don't love it. Whereas every other song on this album, aside from Hang 'em High, of course, I really, really, really enjoy. And I love the grittiness. I love the emotion. I love how intense everything is. I can tell there's kind of a story going on. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think they do an extremely good job with the choruses. Something that Jeff and I think one of you guys mentioned about how good they are at making catchy choruses. And I think that this is their peak in doing that. Even with like some instrumentals being pretty samey, the choruses are always a standout, and they always make you come back for more. I love how this album is produced. Obviously, it's better than I Brought You My Bullets. I don't know. There's just like an intimacy in the way it's made and produced that makes it feel like you're almost in the room, and you can feel the emotion that's coming through this record. But yeah, I mean, I think they came into their own, and dare I say, hit their peak with this album. I think it's extremely cohesive, extremely fun, while also having that cool emotional edge.
Absolutely. This album is phenomenal. The step up from I Brought You My Bullets to this album is crazy. This is exactly what they were going for with that sound, and they just nail it. Gerard's delivery is cleaned up, and it works so much better. And it's almost like perfectly on the edge of like being a little rough, but also being like passable. And it's raw. His delivery is so raw in here, and it works so well. Kyle, I can just echo so much of what you said. Like the opening, 6 tracks on here at least are amazing. Give 'em Hell Kid is one of my favorite My Chemical Romance songs.
So good.
Hang 'em High, I also enjoy a lot, like I said earlier. Do you know what they do to guys like us in prison? Top 10 song. It's amazing. I love it. The chorus is so catchy. This album has so much personality.
Yeah.
It's so angsty, dramatic, it's over the top, and it sounds to me, it's so snarky.
Mhm.
Like it's just bitter and rude, and it's so good.
It's what it encapsulates what your parents didn't want you to listen to at the time, even though I obviously wasn't really alive during that time.
Absolutely. This to me is what a rebellious album sounds like.
Mm,
Yeah.
I can attest.
The choruses on here are so good. The Ghost of You, oh my gosh, the chorus to that song is incredible. And like, I don't really love his delivery on that first verse. It's kind of off-putting. But as soon as you get to that chorus, I don't even care anymore. It's amazing.
Yep, I agree.
I'm Not Okay is an anthem. It's like borderline misfit anthem moment, but just far enough removed that it's not so egregious as some of those Ice Nine Kills songs. But it's so good.
I have the same thing written down. Like, this is kind of a misfit anthem, but it bangs.
This is what every misfit anthem tried to copy. This is what they're all trying to do, but they can't. They just can't do it.
Kyle, everything you said, Nathan, as well, I can just only repeat what you guys said. I do agree that Helena is my favorite My Chemical Romance intro. There are arguments that the song on the album coming up next is better, but I think Helena probably takes the cake for that. And then I think everything up to like the interlude, I really, really like. I do think that the second half of this album is a little bit weaker than the first half, in my humble opinion, at least. I do agree. I Never Told You What I Do for a Living is not my favorite, but It's Not a Fashion Statement. It's a Death Wish is one of my favorite songs. I really like that song a lot. Yeah, and Hang 'em High, Nathan, I agree that song is awesome, especially with the like Western whistling at the beginning. It's like so unique and weird. And that's another thing. A lot of the intros to these songs are really cool. To the end, I like the beginning where it's like send my resignation to the bride and the groom. That part's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, just like there's parts in all these songs that have that moment that I was talking about. Just like you remember the song from that moment. Like I remember Hang 'em High because it has that whistling at the beginning. I know exactly what you're talking about. Every song just has something like that. And yet, The Ghost of You, I didn't even know was a My Chemical Romance song. I heard it from
That's
Crazy
so funny.
Crazy 88 song. I thought it was theirs. And that's my favorite Crazy 88 song.
How did you not know
That EP is called
I don't,
Covers.
I don't know. I didn't read it.
It's called like Covers Volume 2.
That's so funny.
I don't know.
What an obscure way to hear a My Chemical Romance song for the first time. Oh yeah, Crazy 88's cover, obviously.
It's
Crazy
so
88's
weird.
cover, who's a band that was made out of like a startup campaign or a Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, it was a
true.
Kickstarter project.
Yeah.
I still have that shirt, by the way.
I still have that flag.
Hey now,
Yeah. I don't obviously hang it up in my room because I'm an adult, but
you don't hang them high?
Oh,
no. No, I don't. Hey, what do you guys think about the song Thank You for the Venom?
Banger.
it's good.
Okay. I really like it. Like, I love that song. I think that's like a sleeper for one of the best on the album.
That was one of the first songs that I really, really liked from this album way back in the day.
Yeah, that song bangs.
So what's keeping this album out of first place for me? I think there are a couple tracks that don't really work for me. The Jet Set Life is Gonna Kill You doesn't really move me in either direction. The interlude on here is one of the most annoying things I've ever heard. And then Cemetery Drive is all right.
I like Cemetery
It's
Drive.
not,
I really like that song.
doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like all the songs in this album. I think that we can get to it in a bit, but there are reasons that the next album I have higher, and I don't think songs from this album are kind of the reason why. Does that make sense? Like, there's no
completely.
song on here that's like, oh, number 2, But there are some like more not great ones. I do agree. Like I said, I never told you what I do for a living. I'm not a huge into that one stuff, but the next album I think just it goes above and beyond of what it's trying to be. No spoilers.
Kyle, have you ever noticed that Burt McCracken from The Used has a feature in You Know What They Do to Guys Like Us in Prison?
I didn't.
I had never noticed that until I was reading through the lyrics, and I was like, Burt McCracken, what? He said he's the voice in the background that's like, they made me do push-ups and drag. That's him.
Oh,
As soon as I heard it, it was so obvious. I don't know how I ever missed that now that I know.
because I know they had worked together. The Used and MCR have worked together throughout the decade, specifically on their cover of "Under Pressure" by Queen and David Bowie. That is honestly awesome.
Yeah, he also does the screams in that second verse. It's just
Okay.
That's sick.
I have written down that I really like the screams.
Birdie boy. Story time. So the two lovers from Demolition Lovers at the end of I Brought You the Bullets, they're killed in the gunfight. The guy finds himself in hell and believes he's separated from his girlfriend and that his girlfriend is either alive on earth or she also died and is in heaven. And the devil tells him that if he can collect the souls of 1,000 wicked men, he can reunite him with his lover. And the man agrees. And so he's sent back to earth to give him hell, kid. And he begins collecting the souls and killing people. And over the course of the album, he kind of has these doubts like, is it even worth it? Can I do it? But he carries on. We get towards the end of the album. He is at 999 souls. And he is shocked to learn that the final soul that he needs to collect is his own. So he has to kill himself to complete the deal, sending him back to hell. And there's some debate over, does he do it? Does he not? I'm going to choose to say he does. And then he and his lover are reunited in hell. The devil wins.
Bro, if you're going to do all of that for your girlfriend, she's not your girlfriend, she's your wife.
Facts.
I'm going to say that now.
But that is like one of the most hardcore, insane stories I've heard from a concept album.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
epic.
that's crazy.
So you're telling me The Ghost of You is not about World War II warfare?
I don't believe so. It's weird. So the interesting thing about a lot of My Chemical Romance's concepts and their storytelling is like not every song is connected. They're not fully dedicated to the story like The Gloom in the Corner is. It kind of feels like they write songs and then kind of find how they can fit them into the narrative.
Yeah, Gloom in the Corner isn't a story, man. It's a freaking novel.
Yeah, man, their lore is so deep. It's ridiculous.
I love it. The first time I'd heard Helena was in 7th grade. I was traveling with my family to Chicago, and I listened to Helena the entire flight back because I liked it so much.
It's a really good song.
Like I just put it on repeat, and for the 3.5 hour flight back, I remember falling asleep listening to Helena and waking up and Helena was playing.
That's so funny. That honestly is not one of my favorite songs off this album.
Really?
What?
Well,
Like, it's a good song. I don't think it's their best opener.
what?
Um,
Whoa.
What?
whoa, but like, it's good. It's fine. It's a good song. I just don't love it like everyone else does.
I just think it's insanely catchy to the point that it hurts. That's what I like about it.
I think there are catchier songs on this album.
I would actually agree with that. I'm not okay with Stuck in My Head for like a week. Easy.
That song is catchy.
For the Ghost of You,
Song.
obviously. You know what they do to guys like us in prison? I also like the fact that there's like a bunch of different voices and stuff going on. I know that you mentioned that
Yeah.
one, but there's just like a lot of different voices going on in that song.
There's so much care put into each and every one of these songs, and I think that's part of what makes it so good. Is like it comes through, you hear it.
Yeah. No, the production's great.
Yeah, I really like the vocal layering in that song.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
I think you definitely see the seeds of what's coming, in my opinion, at least, in terms of like sort of that production.
I think they're like those dramatic elements are definitely there. You know, they have big ideas, and I think that definitely carries over. But I'm not sure. I would say the production is very similar.
Yeah, I mean, the Black Parade is a freaking rock opera. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pretend like Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge is not a rock opera.
No, that's true. That's true. I guess I'm just saying, like, compared to their first album, you could start to see some of what could potentially be coming.
I can see how we got there. All
Exactly.
right. Well, that being said, should we get into?
Yeah, I think so. I think enough beating around the bush. I think it's time for Kyle to defend his list. So,
Sorry.
so
Now I don't have to put a
but
song
that was
in.
really good. Thank you. My number one, My Chemical Romance album is their 2006 project, The Black Parade.
Jeff, it feels so good to share a number one with someone.
Welcome to the club.
Hey, I was just one space behind. Hey, come on now. Hey, I know we mentioned this before, but we predicted that we would be completely flush on this Discog ranking, and there's not one album that holds the same place across all three of us.
That's crazy. I did not expect that at all, to be honest. I really didn't.
I have come to terms that we will never share an exact list ever. But that's part of the fun. That's what makes it a discussion, a discourse.
A Discog discourse, if you will.
I will.
I want to hear Kyle's Discog discourse about why he put The Black Parade as number 2. That's what I want to hear first off.
Now,
Is that how we open every discussion now? I want to hear your Discog discourse.
I love that part where they Discog discourse and then they said, I'm about to Discog discourse.
I love Discog Discourse because of the amount of Discog Discourse that happens.
At least 5 Discog discourses per episode.
Yeah, dude, I really loved that particular Discog Discourse. His number 3, their number 4s.
Kyle, enough stalling. Why is it your number 2?
I hate to pull Nathan here. I thought this was going to be my number 1 coming into this week even. I don't enjoy some of the songs on here. It really comes to a song by song thing. And I know I literally have written down, I'm sure there's a backstory behind this song that will make me feel like an a-hole. I really don't like Cancer. I think it's trying to be too emotional, and if it's a fictional story, I don't really care. Sleep kind of bores me. Disenchanted is a song that really frustrated me because it doesn't justify that it's 5 minutes. And reading the lyrics, I understand it's telling a good, like, an interesting part of the story. But if the song isn't good or if the song isn't interesting, then I don't care about the story. And I think that's what separates it from, the slower songs and something like, say, The Gloom in the Corner. Like, those songs are still interesting even though they're telling this story. So I care about the story because the song is good. If I don't find the song interesting, then I don't really care about the story. Every other song on this album, though, is amazing. Obviously, The Black Parade is their best song. It's a generational song. It's a song that defined a decade, defined a genre of music, for years to come. Just unbelievable. Opening up with Dead, the end, Dead, This Is How I Disappear, The Sharpest Lives, Welcome to the Black Parade, is just an unbelievable opener. I don't love you. I don't hate it. I think House of Wolves is awesome. I think that song's awesome. I heard that song for the first time a couple weeks ago. It was on repeat. Mama is an awesome song. Teenagers, though I don't feel like it fits the mood of the album, great song, or good song at the very least. And then Famous Last Words is a fantastic closer to this record. It just came up to like, hey, I don't really like Disenchanted. I don't really like Sleep. I don't really like Cancer. And like, those are three songs I really don't like, kind of on the same level as the two songs I didn't love for Three Cheers, which is why I put it a slot below.
So you don't like the slower songs on here, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, no, and like that's something I've noticed throughout this discography is like there are some slower songs that I enjoy a lot, but for the most part, I don't really enjoy the generic slow, bigger feeling songs that My Chemical Romance does. Like I said, I enjoy I Don't Love You. Fine, I enjoy it. But yeah, no, I mean Cancer, Sleep, and Disenchanted just being so close to each other from the song list standpoint in this album, and just kind of how similar they are tempo wise and interesting wise. Yeah.
I actually think these are the best slow My Chemical Romance songs. So it's interesting that you say they don't really work for you. They work the best in their whole discography for me.
I agree.
Like Cancer is a great song, and I think it really has that emotional weight to it, more so than the slow songs like on the rest of this album and anywhere else in their discography. Cancer has immense emotional weight. I think Sleep is right there with it, honestly. I think that's a great song that really carries a lot of emotional weight. Like, I love the slow songs that can do that, and that's what really draws me into a slower song is this making me feel anything? And this album, the slow songs make me feel something.
Yeah, I thought that Cancer, and this is, I'm sure obviously you'll disagree. I just felt like it overdid it. And since it's not like talking about something from personal experience, it just felt a little cheesy and corny to me of like, my hair's falling out because of the medicine, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, that's a reality of Cancer, but it didn't hit the emotional strings that I know they were trying to hit for me.
Yeah, I guess one thing about Cancer is that it's short, and I think that its length plays to its advantage, because I do agree that it is very, very emotionally heavy. But I think it's just short enough where I think it works. It almost kind of acts like an interlude, honestly. And I think that's good. I disagree about Sleep, Kyle. I think Sleep is awesome. It's kind of creepy, kind of a creepy song, and I really like it. I really, really like that. It's so weird. I don't know if I've ever heard a song like that, especially like with the beginning talking about how it feels like hands around his throat and like someone squeezed. Like, it's just weird. And then I Don't Love You is amazing. I love that song so much. I do agree.
It's so good.
I do want to agree with you though that Disenchanted is pretty good. It's pretty solid. Sad and emotional. It's not my favorite though, to be fair. So I do agree with you about Disenchanted.
And it's so long.
And it is very long.
I'll also chime in on Disenchanted. I think that's the weakest song on this album.
Agreed.
Followed quickly by Teenagers. I think Teenagers is pretty lackluster.
Why is that song on here, Ethan? Do you know?
That was my question. That's one of the reasons it's ranked for my second.
It doesn't fit in with the rest of the album. It's not nearly as interesting as everything else happening on the album. It's a lackluster compared to everything else.
It's also their most played song by like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't understand, and that's like, I know I mentioned this when I was going on my first monologue. This album is so coherent and so structured, except for Teenagers.
Sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, it's weird.
I like it though.
Outside of that song, like this is just a quintessential album. Arguably one of the most significant and influential scene albums to ever come out. And I think it's deserved, which is crazy. Almost every choice they made on here was the right one. The only two that I don't think really work are Teenagers, like we were just talking about, and The Length of Disenchanted.
Yeah.
This album is just so good. Like every song has a great moment, at the very least, a unique personality. And of course, like everyone's on their A game here. Like instrumentally, this is wildly unique and so good. Vocally, it's Gerard's best performance. It's just unreal. It really can't be stated how good this album is.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I genuinely believe that this is one of those albums that has the potential to be like classic rock in the future. Like when they look back, they're like, oh yeah, that's classic rock from the 2010s or whatever, or the 2000s.
Oh, I wanted to pause this question. I guess, Kyle, I already have the answer seeing your list. But Nathan, is this possibly the best album that we have reviewed so far?
Yes.
You think it is 100%?
That we've talked about on this show,
Yeah.
yes.
Really?
They shoot for the moon and like they pull it off. They pull off a rock opera, which no one else has done in like recent history, really.
You think this is better than Homesick?
Yes.
Wow.
You think
There
this
is not a song on Homesick that is as impressive, influential, or well written as the best songs on here.
You think that it's better than All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us?
Yes.
Wow, dude. That is crazy to me. I think it's
There's
probably, yeah.
There
Wow.
is a reason that this is a generational album. There is a reason that My Chemical Romance vanished for 5 years and didn't lose popularity, maybe even gained popularity.
That's true.
Didn't their most recent album came out in 2010?
Yeah, but the fact that like they were even able to maintain popularity, it's because of this album. It's not because of Danger Days.
Oh, I see. I see. You're talking about like more recently than.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. No, I mean, for sure. There's a reason why they have 12 million monthly listeners on Spotify. And it's because of this album. I will be the first to say that this album is a generational album. It's not Three Cheers to Sweet Revenge, like I have at number one. That being said, I like Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge more than The Black Parade.
I was gonna say you put the generational album below Three Cheers.
I recognize that The Black Parade, what it's done for music, or I guess for the scene, how it shaped a decade in the genre. But I like Three Cheers more. I can't be more honest than that, boys. I can't be more honest than
No, that's fair.
It's your personal taste, which we already determined at the beginning. You have none.
That's so harsh, but honestly, kind of true.
That was a callback to the tweet that said we had no taste. I wasn't just
Oh.
bringing the thunder on them.
Oh, right.
Yes,
Yeah,
you were.
me too. I was just referring to the tweet.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, woo. Anyways,
Oh, man.
yeah, I mean, you're not gonna find a song like "Mama" or "Welcome to the Black Parade." This is how I disappear. This is how I disappear. By the way, absolutely insane. That song is so good. I could easily make a top 10 My Chemical Romance songs just based on just songs on this album. Like,
Yeah, same.
I could. I'm not going to because I need to be a little fair. But Mama and Welcome to the Black Parade are probably my two examples. Like, where else are you going to find songs like that? Especially Mama.
Yeah.
Like, that song is crazy from beginning to end.
I was gonna ask y'all, is Mama low key the best song on this album?
No.
That was quick.
I think that it's good enough to have that conversation.
I agree. I think it's either This Is How I Disappear, Welcome to the Black Parade, or Mama. I think it's those three.
I think it's either Welcome to the Black Parade, House of Wolves, or Mama. Yeah.
Oh, House of Wolves.
Like, dude, the bridge in Mama is nuts.
Yeah, it's like so doomy. It's so
It's-
distorted, sloppy, doomy.
Mhm.
It's such a huge moment. It's insane. Oh,
And then
my
it goes into a
gosh,
breakdown?
Yeah, I love that song.
like the song's just all over the place.
It's so good.
It's like Welcome to the Black Parade. Like, those songs are just all over the place. So unique. So much going on. And I know this has been said to death like a million times, but like, Welcome to the Black Parade really is their Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, it's just true. I know that's like, I'm so original in saying that, right? Like, yeah, I'll take all the credit for it, please. But it's true. Without knowing anything, the first time I listened to that song, I was like, this reminds me of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh yeah, no, like the second half of that song, especially the guitar solo, is so Queen.
Yep.
Like the inspiration is just right on the sleeve there. It's
Yep.
so obvious.
Dude, it's not their Bohemian Rhapsody, it's our Bohemian Rhapsody. Like what Bohemian Rhapsody was for our parents' generation, Welcome to the Black Parade is kind of for who grew up in this scene of music.
Oh, absolutely. Like you can play that single note on the piano that opens the song, and
Yep.
everyone's immediate thought is "Welcome to the Black Parade."
Yep. It's iconic. Yep.
Yeah.
It truly is iconic.
Yeah. Literally everyone's like, when I was a young boy, my father told me to look into the city to see the Black Parade.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
And that song is just insanely catchy. Like so catchy. And I didn't know how catchy it was because, before I thought that it had other things about it that people love so much. But this song is just catchy. It is
Yeah.
such an earworm. It is insane. And
yeah.
the second half of that song is just it's so good. And probably like as I listen to it more past this episode, it'll probably go up more and more in like my favorite songs ever, my favorite album ever. Yeah. I mean, what else do I need to say? I mean, this album is just nuts.
It's so good. It's unreal. Like Welcome to Black Parade, Mama, we've already talked about those songs. Dead is so good. And like the way it flows out of that intro, oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
Yeah, it's so good. Oh my god, dude. You want to get me amped up.
It's awesome. And then like Famous Last Words is like the perfect conclusion on this album. That part and like towards the end where he's like asleep or dead and he's like doing that in the background and he's got the chorus in front. The way this album is written is just musical brilliance. Like it's so well written. And I think for me that's what puts it ahead of an album like Homesick that I really enjoy, but like just the way they're writing these songs where it's like, okay, the notes are rising here and then we connect it back with this root note and then later in the song it's all descending. It's crazy and it's so good.
So, what's the story of this one?
Great question. There's a lot of debate about what the exact story is because like Three Cheers, it's kind of like we loosely have a concept and almost everyone will tell you that you have to rearrange the track list to get the true order of the story. And at that point, I'm like, is it really well done then? Not really. But I understand why they did it because Cancer, they've said this, like My Chemical Romance has said this before. Cancer is the true opening song. It's the introduction to the main character. But they didn't want to open the album with a song like Cancer. They wanted something a little bit more energetic and fun. So at its simplest, the story is about a young cancer patient reflecting back on his life as he journeys into the afterlife. And Gerard had this like kind of crazy, kind of cool idea that death comes to you in the form of one of the strongest memories you had in your life. In the case of his kid, death comes for him in the form of the Black Parade because that was an important moment for him when his father took him into the city to see the Black Parade. Now, there is a lot of speculation about this, and if y'all will indulge me here,
I will.
I'm going to throw this wild interpretation of the album at you,
I'm ready.
and you gotta stick with me here. So this is not a theory that I came up with. This is from a YouTuber called Wendigoon. Great content. He's blown up over the past year or so, but he has a video from before he started to get big, and he went through this album and told what he thought the story was. And so get ready for this monologue. He agrees that the album tells the story of a cancer patient as he reflects back on his life as he is confronted with death in the form of the Black Parade. General concept, we all agree. His interpretation already starts to differ in that he introduces another main character, the Parader, who's another lost soul who helps others travel into the afterlife. And he's been doing this for some time now. And throughout the album, songs are sung by both of these characters, and the way you can tell who's singing the song is by the way the song starts. If it's a simpler, softer, usually slower song, like, The End or Cancer or Sleep, the patient is singing. If it's more energetic or aggressive, like Dead or House of Wolves or Mama, it's the Parader. And so basically, throughout the course of the album, as the patient is reflecting on his life, the Parader is giving some twisted commentary on it, which is why the track list kind of goes slower song, faster song, slower song, faster song. And actually, in the end, it opens with the patient, and then once like the song gets huge, that's actually Death bursting through the door and introducing himself. And the Parader has a very cynical view of life and sees it as one big joke where death is the punchline, as heard in Dead. And then way later, we learn in Mama why he has this view. And basically, this is like the backstory for who he is. He was a young man who died in war, which is why you hear kind of bombs and stuff in the background. And it should be noted that this is the only theory I've ever heard for this album that like explains Mama in a satisfying way. And at the end of the song, you can kind of hear this young man's mother crying, confirming his death after the air raid that takes place towards that end of that song. In Sleep, it seems that the patient is finally accepting his death because the whole time he's kind of been like, why is this happening to me? I don't want to move on. I can't move on. I want to continue to live. Going to sleep is like imagery for the acceptance of death and moving on. But at the end of that song, you can hear screams saying, wake up. And this is supposed to be the Parader saying, no, don't move on. Don't leave me here. And the theory says that this is because the Parader actually sees a lot of himself in the patient, both young, both taken by things they couldn't control, whether it was war or cancer. And over the course of the album, the Parader has been broken down and has come to care for the patient, breaking down his kind of cynical view of life and death. And he doesn't want the patient to move on. And in famous last words, it's actually kind of a conversation between the two, with the patient explaining why he's ready to move on and the Parader trying to convince him to stay. And Wendigoon proposes that Welcome to the Black Parade is the true closer to the album, the true conclusion to the story. And the song opens with the patient singing his song about why the parade was so meaningful to him. The Parader, now much less cynical and caring for the patient, sings the song back to him, sings the song with him as they parade into heaven instead of having some twisted commentary on what the patient is saying. And so they've come to terms with the fact that they're both dead and recognize that their behavior and kind of their attitude, wasn't maybe the best in life. And now they're finally able to get into heaven. And that's always the direction the patient was going to go. But now, because the Parader is with him and much less cynical and caring, he is finally able to pass on alongside the patient. And so the first time I heard that, I was like, that's way too complex. And do I think that My Chemical Romance had that full fleshed out idea? Probably not. But something that is interesting is Wendigoon points out that in the music videos, songs that are sung by the patient, Gerard has black hair. But songs that are meant to be sung by the Parader, he has white hair. So there definitely seems to be two kind of characters going on. I have come to really enjoy that theory. And I think it is much better than any other theory I've heard for this album.
Wow.
Yeah. How that's a lot.
Wendigoon explains it much better than I did there. That was like the Spark Notes version, but he has like a 30-minute video that breaks down song by song and the track list that he subscribes to.
Yeah, that's insane.
That is really cool. I wish I would have known about that before I listened to it.
There are playlists on Spotify with his story order, and so you can listen through the album and follow along his theory. I think it really works well. I like it a lot.
Does it really? Okay, I'm definitely have to go back and listen to this through. I'm gonna find that playlist real quick. That's such a cool idea, though. That really is. I didn't even. Yeah.
No, that is cool. I that's a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
That comes up with that theory and makes it into an album and then deciphers that theory.
Yeah, dude. I don't really subscribe to the idea that My Chemical Romance had that idea fully fleshed out. But props to Wendigoon for thinking of that, because, I mean, golly, it's so cool.
So did he come up with that, or did he get that from somewhere else?
That's his theory. He came up with it.
Wow. That's impressive. Yeah. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that's
because I always, while I was listening through it, I kind of thought about, okay, so this is the story of a cancer patient in some way. That theory does explain, though, why teenagers is there, kind of like what you said, Nathan. And I really like that. Because I don't know why it's here. So would teenagers would that be the patient, or would that be the Parader?
I think that was one where he was like, My Chemical Romance has said that this song doesn't fit into the story of the album, but his explanation for it was He said it's the patient. It starts out mellow enough to be categorized as a patient one with a very stripped back guitar.
Right.
And it's the explanation of like the patient's story and life. You know, he wasn't that great of a person. He himself was very cynical. And, you know, that probably connects to the parader and like why he sees himself in the patient.
Mm.
If I recall correctly, I watched this video like 2 weeks ago and wrote down the summary in my notes.
Right. No, I like that though. That definitely makes sense.
I'm definitely going to put the link to that video in the description for the podcast if anyone wants to check that out. It's well worth a watch.
I'm going to.
I want to watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to. That's cool.
If anyone wants to watch, well, I want to watch.
Yeah, man, good stuff. And like this album does have that like back and forth of like really energetic, really soft, really energetic, really soft. And the fact that, you know, that doesn't give me whiplash on here, already impressive. And now it's kind of woven into like the story with that theory. I mean, it's good stuff.
This is probably one of maybe the only album that I've seen do that so well, where you have the quick pace of some songs not get in the way of the slower songs, like you said, Nathan. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that. Oh yeah, some of the songs are super super fast and some of them are super super slow. To me, it all sort of flowed together because even the songs that are fast and the ones that are slow, they still have that dark undertone to them. It all feels like it's a cohesive package. You know, unlike some other albums that we've talked about in the past where there is real whiplash, where it's like, okay, this feels like a completely different album to me. Between, I think, kind of what you guys brought up with like
Common Courtesy.
Common Courtesy. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like that. I could definitely see why you guys would be like, yeah, some of these songs feel like they maybe should belong in a different project.
Yeah. Well, it's like this album goes Welcome to the Black Parade into I Don't Love You, into House of Wolves, into Cancer, into Mama, into Sleep, into Teenagers, into Disenchanted. Like we are going up and down and up and down, but it flows.
And even though I don't love a couple of the slower songs, it like you guys were saying, it's so cohesive. It's such a well-structured album.
Which is so crazy too, because like a lot of the faster songs sound very different from each other and have very unique personalities. Like Dead is just like straight up hard rock, energetic. House of Wolves, also hard rock, but it has like this almost like evil jazz New Orleans progression to it. And then Teenagers, energetic rock, but it sounds like super kind of classic rock.
Right.
And then Mama just sounds like I'm being shipped off to war and also descending into hell at the same time.
Good description.
What's the difference?
It's nuts. But like all these different sounds come together and form arguably the most cohesive album that we've talked about on this show.
You could definitely argue that. I would have to see a contender. You know, I don't know how they did it. I don't know how, if I could explain to you without listening to it, like what I mean by this whole album just kind of feels cohesive because of the emotional like darkness that just accompanies each song. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know how like I could put it into words without, you know, me just being like, here's some headphones, just listen to it and tell me if you hear the same thing.
This is an album you have to hear.
Yep.
If you're like Jeff and you've made it this far into the scene of music where you're listening to podcasts about that style of music, you need to listen to this album. That's all there is to say about it.
It's a must listen. I'm honestly surprised that I hadn't heard this earlier. And honestly, that's more of an indictment on you guys than it is on me. I just want to be honest.
I know for a fact that I have told you to listen to this album before.
Maybe you did, but you never put it in the playlist that you sent me. When you were like, here's some good metal songs I recommend. Here's a playlist. Like, you know, like Jeff's starter metal playlist.
Yeah, dude, I was getting you into metalcore.
That's fair.
We needed to loop back and do like Jeff quintessential albums.
Yeah. If you haven't listened to these cornerstone scene albums, you need to, Jeff. Three Cheers and the Black Parade are on that list.
Dude, that's why I'm doing the podcast. I get to listen to all this great music. So, anything else to say about this album before we talk about if they can beat 4 Years Strong in a fight?
They couldn't.
I don't think I have anything more on this album.
I don't either. Gerard Way could just get really angry looking, and maybe that'll intimidate 4 Years Strong. Because in all their like promo shoots, he looks so mad. But he's such a little guy, though. You know, 4 Years Strong might just feel bad.
MCR are not fighters.
No,
they're sad. They don't have the energy to go up against a powerhouse like 4 Years Strong. And credit to them. they wouldn't pick that fight.
No,
Nope.
no, I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't either.
They would make a concept album about magical lumberjacks that fight aliens, probably.
My Chemical Romance, that's what I want their comeback album to sound like.
Oh, speaking of, did you guys listen to their single, the new single they put out?
Of course we did.
What'd you think of it?
Honestly, it's definitely a return to their more angsty sound. I don't love it.
I don't either.
Pretty mid.
Yeah.
Pretty mid. Very, very. It doesn't feel like there's much of a structure. Just feels like kind of splatter onto the wall.
It's long, drawn out. The production is bad. Like,
Yeah.
it does not sound good.
Mm.
It sounds like a demo they found and then just like, oh yeah, we can put this out. We're back.
It could be.
It could be. We'll find out, I guess. I'm curious to see if they do put out another song, what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I want them to go back to that more angsty, gritty sound. But if that's what it's going to sound like, I don't need any more new My Chemical Romance.
No, we got what we needed.
We have one of the best albums to ever come out of this scene.
Yep.
Two of them.
Absolutely.
I would say that. I
Like,
would agree, actually. Like, no
I
joke.
would agree.
Okay.
They're both fantastic albums, wildly different, but like equally really good. Jeff, you mentioned standalone singles. If you like the Black Parade, there's a hidden gem in My Chemical Romance singles. They wrote a song for the Watchmen movie from like that time period, whenever that came out,
What's it called?
called Desolation Row.
Okay.
It's fantastic. It's a great song. It's super fun. Sleeper hit, deep buried beneath all their singles.
Is it on their
Great.
Spotify page, or do I have to look it up somewhere?
It's on Spotify.
I will look for that after this. Oh, yeah, I found it. Okay, I will listen to that as soon as we're done here. I'm intrigued.
It's good. It's a banger. I think that's everything. Jeff, would you please read through your list?
Yes, absolutely. My number 5 My Chemical Romance album is Conventional Weapons. My number 4 is Danger Days, The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys. My number 3 is I Brought You Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love. My number 2 is 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. And my number 1 My Chemical Romance album is The Black Parade.
Phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
It
What was that noise?
was a cheer. 3 cheers.
cheers?
We need 3 of
actually.
them. Thank you so much for listening this far into the episode. If you're still hanging around, real quick, I'm going to plug the socials one more time. If you've made it this far, you should be following us on our socials. On Twitter, we are at Discog_pod. TikTok, we are at Discog Discourse. Instagram is at Discog.Discourse. And if you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, we would love that. If you think you would review us anything less than 5, it's not worth the effort. Reviewing is just too much of a hassle. Thank you so much for listening. Our next episode will be end of the year stuff, and we have a couple fun things planned. Just a couple things we'll be doing. We'll be ranking the discographies that we've talked about. So that'll be interesting. We'll kind of go through that like we would a normal episode. We'll be doing our most offensive album of the year, best EP of the year, and our top 5 albums of the year. And we want to hear from you. We want you to rank our episodes, because if you're going to deal it, you got to be able to take it. So rank our episodes. Let us know what's the best, what's the worst, and we'll talk about it on the show. Again, thank you so much for listening. See y'all on the next one.